p.m. Eastern time. My esteemed panel, Ian Cameron, the Sports Keg Jays here. We are ready to rock and roll. 4-game preview just to sort of whet that appetite as we take you all the way through the channels this weekend on sportsbookreview.com. A lot of fun things, but also I have to say, guys, when you look down and it says hit the subscribe button, we mean that. Over 60,000 people have actually done that. And Ian, you could probably remember with me, I remember times going, hey, look, we got 16,000 people. Hit the subscribe button. Let's build this thing way over 60,000. An awesome thing. And it's only a thank you to a lot of people watching this channel and supporting. But let's bring in the esteemed panel, as we said. Let's start with the guy in the top right-hand corner. It's Jay. He's got a long day. He's got a long night. But what the hell? It's the playoffs, Jay. Burn the midnight oil, right?
Yeah, man. I'm excited. I can't wait. The show did well last weekend. We'll have you during halftime every show. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Can't wait.
No, it is going to be a fun time. Just chatting up with Ian before the show as well. This is my favorite weekend of football of the year. And you sort of get that little bonus on Monday Night Football because it's not the pros, but it's the college football championship, which, again, there's a lot of stuff out there to go over. But, Ian, bringing you in today, start of an unbelievable weekend in football. Obviously, we know we got college basketball spinning out there. Give me some quick thoughts on NFL Divisional Weekend and what we can look forward to here.
Well, if you believe in the trend being your friend, you're going to be aware of the fact that the home favorites in the divisional round, 8-0 ATS in the last 2 seasons coming into this year's divisional playoff, there has been a noticeable and very obvious advantage for teams that have the bye, that have the extra time to prepare, to get rest, to get healthy. A lot of teams, we're going to talk about the 49ers. There's a couple cogs on defense that will be healthier for this game day, back in action. And the underdogs that had to go through the rigors of the wild card round have struggled. Doesn't mean it's going to happen this weekend, but the last 2 seasons, it's been home favorites ruling. We'll see if it continues.
Yeah, 2 games today, as we said. Live Line's going to continue coverage right after the closing line here to get you caught up. And I had a lot of fun last week popping on at halftimes, going over what the game is going on, what's going to happen in the second half. So let's not waste any more time. We've got a half hour to go over these games. Let's start right away, 301, 302 out on the West Coast, the San Francisco 49ers and the Minnesota Vikings. What was not to like last week about the Minnesota Vikings going down in the Dome and taking care of business in overtime versus Drew Brees and the heavily favored Saints in that game? Now you come back in this one, you see they're favored, getting a touchdown in this game, but you got to look at some things that make a difference here. Last week, one of the bonuses that you had was the Minnesota Vikings theoretically coming off their own bye week with resting guys in week 17 before they headed down to play New Orleans. You also saw the New Orleans Saints play all their starters in week 17 in hopes of getting a bye week, which they did not get. Now the roles reverse, and even more so because instead of getting a full week rest, you went on the road last week. Now you only get 6 days rest heading into play the San Francisco 49ers, who are rested and ready and as healthy as they have been all season long, with Tark coming back, D Ford coming back, every key player, even Quan Alexander. I don't know what's going on in the medical field here where you're out 12 months. It all of a sudden turns into 6 weeks here with these injuries to J.J. Watt and Quan Alexander. They're healthy. Minnesota's not rested. Ian, I'm going to start with you in this game. Give me some early thoughts on what you can look forward to, because I know we're probably going to be on the same side here.
Yeah, I'm a San Francisco 49ers believer, and it's not that I'm a Vikings non-believer, because what they did last week was extremely impressive, going into the Superdome and beating the New Orleans Saints. But you're right, there's a situational disadvantage. There's an emotional, gutted-out overtime win. You fly back to Minnesota. You have to go out to the West Coast, and you got to leave Thursday to do that. That's an extra day less of being in the film room, getting on the practice field, getting ready, studying tendencies of San Francisco. Shanahan, on the other hand, he's got that extra time. There's some coaches that we're going to talk about. Andy Reid, how good he's been with extra time. With Kyle Shanahan, 2 times this season, San Francisco hasn't played the week prior. His offenses have put up 30 points or more in both games. He's had them ready to go. He threw in some wrinkles in the playbook that I know Cleveland wasn't expecting on the Monday night game, and that was when the 49ers were coming off a bye going into that. Not saying, of course, Minnesota's defense is on the same level of Cleveland's. Clearly that's not the case, but the point is Kyle Shanahan has had an offense ready, prepared, and executing well with extra time to prepare. I think you'll see that today. It's where you see if the dividends that Emmanuel Sanders will pay to this football team. And I like the wide receiving core getting better down the stretch. Samuel emerged. Debo Samuel played great down there. Kendrick Bourne started making some big catches to go with Kittle, because Kittle's going to be a focal point. The fact they had the wide receiving core improve helps. I like Raheem Mostert as well in this game to be a difference maker. He's gone over his rushing yards prop 5 straight games. I think he goes over that again today in the low 50s, I believe, is where his rushing yards prop is in this game. I think that goes over. On the other side of the fence, guys, I think Minnesota's offense won't be powerless. I know Quan Alexander coming back is a huge deal for the Niners. Dee Ford's been as healthy as he's been in weeks, but Dalvin Cook being in that backfield makes Kirk Cousins a better quarterback. We saw that last week. He's got confidence. He's got the playoff win under his belt finally. I think that helps him today. So I've got San Fran -6.5, San Fran in a teaser, the over 44 in this game, and I like Mostert's rushing yards prop, and I like Kittle longest reception prop as well. Kittle is not scared to make these big yardage completions, and he can bust tackles. I think he might do so today once again.
Offshore, we're looking here, Jay. -7s across the board. Opened up at 6.5, but it has been mostly 7 for the remainder of the week. Opened up 45, 45.5 when we take a look offshore here at SBR odds for the total itself. Now, going over a couple of these games, because San Francisco's only lost 3 games, and you can play in devil's advocate in those 3 losses of how close they actually were. If you remember back in that 27-24 game, which went to overtime in San Francisco, where Russell Wilson and Seattle knocked them off. That was also a game that did not have George Kittle the entire game. And early in the first half, Emmanuel Sanders goes out with an injury. You have a rookie kicker miss some kicks late in the game. You end up losing that. Then all of a sudden you flip it over and play. All right, you go to Baltimore in a absolute rainstorm in a 17-17 tie with about 3 or 4 minutes left to go. 4th and 1 where the 49ers are driving. They don't get it. What Ravens go back down the field and kick a field goal to end the football game there. And then you're taking a look at the Atlanta loss 29-22, 4 defensive starters down. They end up losing that football game there. Taking a look overall, because rested and ready means a lot here, Jay, in the NFL. Do you have a look maybe starting the game? Because I know we're going to dip into some props and stuff in a little bit, but just looking at this game overall, too many points for you to say, hey, I'm going to ride the hot hand with Minnesota, Kirk Cousins is out there? Or do you look and say, boy, I don't know if I want to step in and go on the road now in that short break and take a dog in the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah, I'll try to make it as short as I can for you, Donnie. The Minnesota Vikings are the only team that took my money last weekend. I had a great 3 games, but I was on the Saints. Minnesota surprised me. Dalvin Cook had 2 weeks to rehab that shoulder. Now he has 1 week, and he plays the best team in the trenches in the league this year, hands down, in the San Francisco 49ers. My power ratings say that this line should be 6, and I always go by them, but I'm not going to do it in this game because I'm not a believer in Kirk Cousins. I think that he is the most fugazi quarterback in football. I'm serious. So I'm going to buck my power ratings. I think that if you can get 6.5 or 7, San Fran is the play quickly. Props I would be looking at. Adam Thielen had a good game last week against the Saints. 3.5 receptions is not hard to get. I think that's a look. If you believe Dalvin Cook wins this, the Vikings win this game, Dalvin Cook over 73.5 rushing yards is a look. And what Ian said, George Kittle over 22.5 long reception. Kittle, he'll get 15 targets, over 6.5 receptions, over 75.5 receiving yards. Deebo Samuel, over 3.5 receptions, over 49 receiving yards. So I would be looking at those.
Yeah, really nice weather, by the way, out there on the West Coast. And you're going to get even warm weather here. Me and Jay in the state of New Jersey right now, 65 degrees. I'm ready to go out back and catch a tan. Ian, I want to bring something up in this game also, because when we also talk about short rest, and look, you earn your bye week. You're the better team specifically that season. So the 49ers coming in are better. Now they're going to be rested and ready. But also, as Jay brings up, which I'm going to counter Jay's point in just a few moments and give him a chance to respond. Adam Thielen goes down midweek with that ankle injury. When it looked like, I mean, they're very coy on this stuff, so you have to read between the lines. We thought it was a rolled ankle, but it doesn't turn out it's a rolled ankle. He got spiked and cleated right on the back by his Achilles and had to get stitches. Couldn't do anything the rest of the week. They said they're not even going to try anything till game time. He's tough. He's a gamer. He's a pro. It's the playoffs. He's going to give it a go in this one. But if you're talking about stitches right on your Achilles, that's got to hurt you, Ian, no, in the ballgame?
That's
that's the thing. When you want to look at this as the game starts, see how Thielen's moving around. Like, hopefully they'll show him in the pregame show, NBC, when they come on the air. We'll see. And you got to see in the first quarter if he's able to, go away from opposing cornerbacks. That's going to be clear as day early in the football game. Is he able to gain that separation down the field like he was able to, obviously, against the Saints in overtime to get that big catch, set them up for the game winning touchdown in that game? That's going to be the big question mark. I know there's been people that are, siding with the Vikings, and I'm fully aware of this in backing the Niners, that it's the first time there for Jimmy G. Guys, I understand that. There's definitely a long-term track record of some of these first-time ever starting quarterbacks struggling in the playoffs. Kind of saw that with Josh Allen, the Bills last week. But I'm looking past that here because this Niners team, the eye test tells me this isn't a football team. This is a great football team, and I think they're going to prove it today.
Yeah, and also bring up, Jay, I'll bring back on this Thielen point as well. When you take a look at D Ford, who is going to play in this football game, if they're not getting many snaps over the past 5 to 6 weeks, he's going to play about 15 to 20 plays. But really, when do you want D Ford? 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, obvious passing situations, he'll be able to play. Also, Quan Alexander coming back, not going to be in his normal role as opposed to playing the Sam linebacker position, the Will linebacker position, which is the weak side. He's going to play the Sam linebacker position, sort of get those running plays where I guess he doesn't have to stretch and cover downfield, and there's got to be a rhyme or reason for that. But I saw you on that Thielen 3.5. Does that give you a little bit of pause? So let's just say you didn't fire on that yet. Do you want to watch pregame, or because I know we can get these props all game long, especially on the live line. Do you want to see how he read and reacts, or is this one of those things like I'm going to tough it out, but boy, oh boy.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Donnie. I think he nailed it. You got to see how he does in the first quarter. And luckily for you and I know there are some offshore books that have live player props, but I mean, we have a great selection at FanDuel. So I would probably wait and see if he catches 2 balls in the first quarter and he looks good, they're probably only going to move that from 3.5 to 4.5, and you'll still have value on that prop. So I would probably wait. It's a good call.
It should be interesting here because when you take a look at the breakdown of this game, also, I know Ian likes a little bit of points here. You have 2 really good safeties for the Minnesota Vikings, but 2 of their top 4 cornerbacks, cover cornerbacks, won't be available in this game. And the alarm bells ring, and you know how much of it a problem is because even when you saw last week with Xavier Rhodes going down early in that game with a shoulder injury, that just doesn't say, oh, he's going to be all better. He's probably going to have an issue with that as well. But when you're working out 41-year-old cornerbacks a couple days before the game, you have a problem in your secondary. Ian, when you talk about your total in this game, look, Jimmy G is going to get his shots. They got weapons. They're healthy on offense. They have 3 running backs that can hit home runs at any given time and ready to go. When you look at this game, because we know Minnesota does have a good defense, but you saw last week where the New Orleans Saints couldn't push the ball downfield. That's not going to be the case today.
It's funny how prior to last week, Donnie, in the Saints game, everybody's talking about how Xavier Rhodes is banged up. He struggled this season. No Mackenzie Alexander as well in that Vikings secondary last week, and everybody's saying what a concern it was going to be. But because they won the game last week against this, we haven't heard a damn thing. Nobody's talking about the secondary this week. Where's that talk about concern for the secondary this week? No, none because you won the game. I think this could be the game where the secondary warts show up for the Vikings, and something that I'm sure Kyle Shanahan knows. He knows that Viking diagnosis in terms of their secondary right now as well. That might be a target that he goes after today.
All right, let's keep it moving here. 8:15 tonight on the East Coast. Normally, mid-January, we're expecting 20-degree weather, maybe some winds whipping around, little precipitation, whether it be freezing rain, sleet, or even some snow. Not going to be the case in Baltimore. 63 degrees at kickoff. Looks like the rain is going to hold off throughout the entire game. Maybe a slight chance for a shower as the game is wrapping up, but as good as you're going to get here on the East Coast. If we take a look at the timelines here, opened up -10, still sitting around -10. There are 9.5s on the board. Over-under in this football game, which opened up at 48, still sitting at about 47.5, 47, 48, depending on where you're shopping at offshore at this time. But again, weather doesn't look like it's going to be that big of an issue. Depends on the winds. If they creep up, expecting around 13, 14 miles an hour at kickoff, may increase slightly as the night goes on. Then we take a look at the Tennessee Titans last week get a big victory going up to Foxborough, return home. Vrabel gets the win. Now you got to go face, to me, the best team overall in the NFL, secondly only to the 49ers, in their home building, rested and ready. But Mark Ingram does have a little bit of a calf issue. He says he's going to go, but look, if you're worried about your calf midweek, you're probably not going to be full go in this game. But my question is, will it even matter? A key injury in the linebacker position. Jayon Brown's not going to play for the Tennessee Titans, their best middle linebacker. When you're facing a run-heavy opponent, it's probably the least guy you can afford to lose in this football game. This is going to be a good one, and it's a matter of rested and ready, but were they hot and rested? And now the Tennessee Titans ride that momentum train down into Baltimore. Jay, I'm going to start with you first in this game. There's a lot to look at because I know you ate very well on Lamar Jackson rushing props, and also now taking a look as the pathway to victory for the Titans is to run the ball and keep Lamar Jackson off the field. Which way are you looking in this game, sidewise, total-wise, or maybe something jumping out to you as a prop before the game even starts?
I think since the weather held up and it looks like it's going to be good, I think that this could be the highest scoring playoff game that we've seen so far. When I thought about the score of this game, I think the Ravens are going to do what they do. As long as the weather's good, they're going to put up 30 plus. And the Tennessee Titans offense has been really, really good the last 9 weeks of the year. I mean, they weren't great last week, but they got the job done. Henry went crazy. I think that this could be like a 35, 38, 24 type game. So my power ratings say this game should be 11. And I think if you can get the 9.5, it's worth taking on Baltimore. And I hate to be such a public square man, but I really do think that they're at least 10 points better than this team. So at 9.5, I like it. And an alternative over, Donnie, over 52.5 at plus 190. I like a lot. I think we're going to see a lot of points.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I agree with you in the fashion, Jay, that I think Baltimore is going to carry the offensive flow because nobody's really stopped them. And I don't think this team is all that equipped. Look, Tennessee's a good football team. You don't make it to the divisional round without being a good football team. But when you're looking at elevation of talent, I think Baltimore clearly has it. Ian, I'm going to give you this point here for which way I worded this game. You know, when you're looking at weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's great. We saw 50 points where the Baltimore Ravens put up against Miami Dolphins. That all factors in. But I like to see where the rubber meets the road. The minute that defense got healthy on the Baltimore Ravens, and the minute they go trade for Marcus Peters and line him up with Jimmy Smith when he's healthy, those final 9 games, they averaged only giving up 14 points per game and 262 yards total, which is amazing per game. When you're looking at some of those teams, Houston, they held to 7 points. The Rams, they held to 6 points. That is some really good defensive being played, but also on the offensive side, being able to score. If we look at the last 9 games, again, with just those 2 cornerbacks playing with the Baltimore defense healthy, do you know the Ravens are 9-0 straight up in the first half? They lay it on you right away. And to Jay's point here, if you think there's going to be points, the way to keep those points down is Tennessee get a 3-0 lead, a 7-6 lead, run the football. You can't really do that with the Ravens. If they jump up on you 14-3, you're not running the football anymore. Looking at this game here for yourself, Ian, how are you eyeing up the way this game is going to start? And also, obviously, what do you like in this ball game to finish?
Yeah, the Titans are a team that nobody's banged the over the total drum of this team in the second half of the season more than me. I think I've been on Tennessee games over the total every week. Unfortunately, that included last week as well against the New England Patriots. And normally when I'm riding a streak, a total streak, a side streak on a team, and I finally lose one, I jump off the train. I said, oh, that was fun. It was good while it lasted, made some money, time to move on to the next thing. And I don't jump back on it the next week. I'm making an exception here. I am jumping back one more time on the over with Tennessee tonight. The weather's not going to be as bad. We were talking rain and wind and all this nonsense in the week. It looks like it's going to be a lot better than that. Look, Tennessee's defense shut down New England last week, but come on. New England's offense is broken without
average.
Tom Brady throw a deep ball. The offensive line's been injury riddled all year for New England. No playmakers outside of Edelman and Dorsett's like the receiver you got to count on as a number one. I don't think so. That was a pedestrian bad, never mind pedestrian, bad offense for Tennessee to face last week. It's a totally different animal here this week. On the flip side, Baltimore's defense definitely improved, and that's going to be the scary part of this. I think I'm going to get 30 plus from Baltimore. Can I get 20s from Tennessee? I think so, especially because I think the Tennessee offense, they didn't do much in the second half last week, but when the offense is doing nothing on the other side, you don't have that urgency to keep on churning the yards and churning the points. I think they knew they were shutting down New England. They weren't doing anything in that game. There is going to be urgency for Tennessee to keep the offensive pedal to the metal here in this game. Let's not forget, guys, 9-2 to the over in their last 11 games, this Tennessee Titans team. And this could be the weekend of the tight end, you guys, in these games. I think the tight ends are going to be big. For the Baltimore Ravens, no team has scored more from the tight end position in terms of touchdowns than the Ravens. This is Mark Andrews' game, in my opinion. Mark Andrews is going to be a focal point, going to have a big night receiving yards. I think you look at him, longest reception. I think Mark Andrews is going to be a guy, Lamar Jackson. He's going to obviously be run-heavy offense as usual, but the one guy Lamar Jackson has really found some chemistry and rapport with down the stretch is his big tight end out of Oklahoma, Mark Andrews. I think he has a really nice night. He's a guy I'd look at from a player prop standpoint.
Yeah, taking a look also in the 10 games that Ryan Tannehill started with the Tennessee Titans in the first half, they're averaging 10 points per first half, and as well as the defense giving up 12.8. And again, getting to the points and getting out, because I think when we're looking at a total here, I don't think the Ravens stop, if that makes sense. Not to say they're going to, continue to score, but the Ravens offense runs on the ground through Lamar Jackson. They're going to be very progressive. And last week when we saw, analytics don't matter in the playoffs, I want to see if John Harbaugh really tests that today, because how many times have we seen during the regular season, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 4th and 3 across the 50-yard line? You have the best running back quarterback maybe of all time in your backfield and a dominant offensive line. They continue to go for it. But if you have a double-digit lead in the second half, Ryan Tannehill is going to open it up, which is great because he's got some weapons on the outside that he can do. Even if the Baltimore defense, I think, is locked and loaded, there should be some points. And again, we're not dealing with 30 degrees, rain, and a ton of wind here. You're getting a perfect forecast to start this football game. Jay, just give you one more point in this game. If you're leaning on this game, you say, you know what, Baltimore covering the 10 points, it's going to go over, right? If they cover the 10, it's going to go over. This isn't 23, is it?
No, I really think Ian's right. I think you give the Titans another shot. They've proved their offense all year long since Tannehill's been in the game. And I really do think this has a chance to be the highest scoring playoff game we've seen so far. And that's why I like the alternative over. They're pricing you out of the Lamar Jackson rushing yard prop. It's 76.5. Do I think he goes over that? Yeah, I do. But am I going to bet it? No, I'm not. Tannehill, longest pass, under 35.5 yards. I don't know, maybe. I think Tannehill rushes for over 14.5 yards. And that's it. That's really all I've been looking at from our props.
Ian, last point on that Tennessee-Baltimore game. Any other insights you got on this one?
1 point, because I know I've heard all week from people I respect. I do, even though I disagree with them liking the under in this game. I've heard heavy offenses, time-consuming drives, tick, tick, tick. That clock's just going to keep on ticking. My counter argument is we've got 2 of the top 5 teams in the NFL in terms of red zone efficiency. When Tannehill took over for the Titans and they got the ball inside the 20, they were punching in touchdowns, not settling for field goals more times than not. Same with the Ravens, a tremendous red zone offense that was efficient, that finished drives with touchdowns. That I think will help the over the total cause tonight.
We could set up these other 2 games as well a little bit later on the closing line and give you previews. We'll be talking football all night long right here on the channels at sportsbookreview.com. But let's talk a little bit about tomorrow. 305, 306, I got to tell you, out of the 4 games, this one I'm trying to get the toughest read on because I really want to take Kansas City, and I think Kansas City is markedly better. But all these things I'm getting out of Kansas City aren't making sense to me. Like you're coming off a bye, but Kelsey got a bone bruise during the bye in practice in his knee. That never sounds good. That never plays that well. And then Chris Jones, your best defensive lineman, hurts the calf. He doesn't practice. They are 2 absolutely massive cogs. And now you're going to get Will Fuller back. And what type of Will Fuller are we going to get back for the Houston Texans tomorrow? You saw last week Watson pull off a miracle. He's going to need even a triple miracle facing this offense because unlike 5 scoring drives from the Bills and Josh Allen just going haywire and having some, ridiculousness in the second half, to say the least, and even getting some bogus calls go against you, they pull that football game out. But now you go into a tough environment on the road, dome team going outdoors, going to be cold weather. But some of these injuries are shaking me up here. Jay, I'll start with you first in this game. When you initially look at it, again, setting it up -10, opens up 8.5, 8, now sitting at around that 10, 9.5. Over-under is going up at least 2 points to 51.5 from 49. I think we get points in this football game. I really do. But some of these injuries, a little bit cautious for me right now, monitoring them.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They seem weird. It could be like misdirection. We'll see. I want to see if Travis Kelce is slowed down in the first quarter. I think the one thing that you can set your watch by this weekend is the abomination that the Texans defense is. 28th in defense, 29th passing defense, 25th rushing defense. They're a joke. I think that if Kansas City is anywhere close to 100% on offense, they name their number. I think at 5 dimes right now, you can get the Kansas City Chiefs first half team total at an even 14 at like minus 128. I think that's the best bet on the board this weekend. I think that they're going to put on a show. I do think it probably goes over. Deshaun Watson is special, even though the Kansas City defense has improved. And when Will Fuller plays for the Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson's QBR goes up significantly. So I think we will see a better Houston Texans team on offense than we did last week. But I think Kansas City names their score.
Yeah, me and Jay talked a little bit about this, behind the scenes on what we like about this game. One thing that you can't really deny is how well Andy Reid prepares and gets his team ready to go, which means those first 10 to 15 plays in the first half scripted are probably going to be absolute gems. And Jay also talks about it's nice to hear about J.J. Watt's back and they have some names in their secondary and they're healthy now. But forget about even the beginning of the season. Go over the later part of the season where they're getting bombed on repeatedly. You can run on them, you can pass on them, and for some reason, Bill O'Brien's teams don't really wake up when the bell rings for round one in the first half. So it would not surprise me one bit to see this game somewhere around that 17-7, 20-7 at the halftime. And maybe you don't want to dip in, Ian, on that double digits because Deshaun Watson versus Kansas City's defense down 14 points. Sure, he's good enough to go down the field and get that late touchdown. Looking at this football game and knowing the history with Andy Reid and how well his teams prepare, is that number still a little bit too high because you say, ooh, some injuries coming in. I don't know if their defense is going to hold up, even though Spagnuolo's defense has been better in the second half. How do you read this game, Ian?
Yeah, I think Kansas City wins. I did lay 9.5, but small play. 19-9 straight or ATS. Unbelievable numbers off the bye for Andy Reid, and actually 13 or 12-2 to the under in the last 14 off a bye for Andy Reid, which is kind of funny. You think offense is great and defense, but the defense has been good, and the defense for Kansas City down the stretch got much, much better. That's why I'm kind of worried about this total. In where it is, 51. I'm not just racing to bet the over in this game. You look at this team, Watson got sacked 7 times last week. Kansas City's a top 10 team, especially down the stretch. That pass rush was there. That pass rush was very real. And they're going to, I think, make life difficult, I think, for Deshaun Watson. Be able to get up in his grill, be able to rush him from in terms of pass rush, which was really good down the stretch. And you look at Bill O'Brien, when his teams have been expected to lose, when they've been underdogs of a touchdown or more, they have lost. 0-9 straight up and 2-7 against the spread. Their last 9 tries getting a touchdown or more. When they've been the inferior team, it's been good night nurse to Bill O'Brien's teams, and I think it will be once again on Sunday.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. 36 degrees, looks like a kickoff, about 12 to 13 mile-an-hour winds, no precipitation, so we shouldn't have any issues there. And we'll skip the Seattle-Green Bay game. We can always cover that a little bit later since we don't have enough time to do that. If we look at these 2 games on Sunday, and Jay, I'll start with you here. Look at these quarterback matchups. Watson, Mahomes, Wilson, and Rodgers. I mean, the NFL, as much as we malign it, and sometimes we get angry at some of the crap, single-game performances we see on Thursday Night Football or Monday night, Divisional round is so much fun. And look, backing either one of these quarterbacks, it seems like you can't really go wrong, can you?
Yeah, I agree, Donnie. I think that the quarterbacks in the NFL are top heavy. Yeah. The top is really, really good. But from, 13th down, I mean, the league is really low at quarterback right now. But I agree with you. Yeah, I think of any dog I like this week, even though Seattle didn't look great against your boys, I'm still not a full believer in Green Bay yet, man. I look at them and see their stats and the analytics and say, how is this a 13-3 football team? So I think I would lean Seattle.
Yeah, that is a fun game to break down. Before we get out of here, Ian, thanks so much for joining, especially all year long. And again, next week, we'll see if we can get you on Sunday to prime up those 2 games on Championship Sunday. Tell us where we can catch you, Ian, what you're looking at doing and what you got going on, buddy.
Well, quickly about Seattle, Green Bay, I'm going to throw out a couple things on that. The total sacks in the game from a props perspective, I've hammered that. That's got sacks written all over it. I think they'll get after Rodgers, and Green Bay will absolutely get after Russell Wilson and a depleted offensive line. I don't think Upati and Brown are back. That left side of the offensive line is in tatters right now for Seattle. I think Green Bay does have a good pass rush. 2 good pass rushers can get after him. And maybe the prop I like most of all, player props wise. This total's going up, and I agree with it fully. I jumped on it at 24.5. Russell Wilson rushing yards over the total. He's going to have to. That offensive line is a mess. Green Bay's got a pass rush. He's going to have to consistently scramble, keep the plays alive when the pocket collapses, make plays with his feet. Russell Wilson's going to be an active runner of the football tomorrow. I love his rushing yards prop over the total.
Yep, hit that thumbs up button there. Hit the subscribe button. Jay, we got a big night ahead. I'm going to be part of it with you, having some fun. Let the boys know out there what we can look for, not only today, but tomorrow from some live line action.
Yes, we'll have Donnie at every halftime, all 4 games this weekend. We're going all night from 5 minutes after this show. We're going to be live betting both games tonight. Tomorrow at 2:00, we're back on Live Line. We'll go through all the props the hour before. I think it's a 3:05 or 3:15 kickoff. And then we'll get you guys squared away through the 2 games, live betting all 4 games this weekend. It's going to be a ton of fun.
Thanks for joining us today on The Closing Line for SportsBookReview.com. For Jay, for Ian, and myself, we'll do it again next Sunday, but a huge weekend on the channels. Thank you for supporting us. Good luck on your wagers, and tune in next.
Good luck, everybody.
Thanks, boys.